We'd like to thank every one of you for coming tonight to this really, really unique celebration for Nutley. First of all, I'd like to introduce some of the distinguished guests that are here. Mayor Kelly is here, and the commissioners, Senator Orecchio, Frank Cacciola, Peter Scarpelli, Walt Smith, and freeholder Art Clay.
And his wife.
And his wife, Heather. Yes, I'm sorry, Heather. And of course, the president of the board of the library, Tony Iannarone. And our guests of honor tonight, Mr. Erwin Lerner and his wife, Blanche.
Actually, I think everyone here tonight is distinguished. Distinguished because you care enough about Nutley, and you're here to say thank you, and we appreciate that.
Hoffmann LaRoche has been a wonderful neighbor. In our business, we call it a good and responsible corporate citizen.
Tonight we're here to say thanks to not just one person or two, but to the hundreds of men and women who work at Hoffmann LaRoche. Their involvement in just about every aspect of Nutley community has made an enormous contribution to the quality of life, that quality of life that Kathy and I have spent in Nutley for the last 25 years and more.
The employees at Hoffmann LaRoche serve on our serve as Little League coaches, den mothers and dads, volunteer firemen, members of the Board of Education, auxiliary policemen, and even the president of the library board, Tony. They spend their days at Hoffmann LaRoche, but in the evening, they volunteer countless hours, helping to make Nutley a better place in which to live.
As a corporation, Hoffmann LaRoche has provided financial support to innumerable projects around town. As a matter of fact, for over 60 years. The most obvious contribution surrounds us this evening. We will be viewing a special video a bit later, and we'll give you some graphic presentations of this town that we think is so very special, and Hoffmann LaRoche as well.
Mr. Lerner, we thank you for encouraging a policy which has benefited not only the people of Nutley, but each and every town where Hoffmann LaRoche employees live. We're grateful to Hoffmann LaRoche for being such a good neighbor.
And now I'd like to present a good friend of ours, James or Jimmy Pyro, who will tell you a few things about Project 2000. Jimmy?
Thank you, Kathy and Bob, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the committee of Project 2000, I thank you for your support of this evening's event. Although I am not an official member of Project 2000, I helped in its organization and have been one of its most vocal supporters. I believe that the work of Project 2000 is among the most important of any of the volunteer community activities presently being conducted in the town of Nutley. I have observed that many of us are not fully aware of the work of Project 2000, so perhaps a brief outline of Project 2000's history and its purposes is appropriate. In the fall of 1987, Alan Rubino, who is the chairman of Project 2000, conceived of the idea of the project and wrote a proposal to the Nutley Board of Commissioners excuse me, to create a volunteer committee to review long-range planning for Nutley and to prepare it for the 21st century. Mayor John Kelly sponsored the committee and received the unanimous support of the commissioners of the town of Nutley to create Project 2000. The goal of the committee was to enlist volunteers from among the town's citizens who had special expertise to review, recommend, and in some instances, implement progressive plans and programs to make Nutley a better community in which to live and work. It is fitting that this evening's historic and unique event was conceived by Project 2000. The scope of Project 2000's areas of interest is very broad. It ranges from the committee's aesthetic study and recommendations, which include a plan to artistically light our public buildings and schools, to review of the mass transportation needs of the next century for Nutley, and the possibility of returning commuter rail service to Nutley. A gallery of Project 2000 activities has been set up for your review this evening right outside the Children's Library. As a matter of fact, some of the banners that you'll see throughout the library tonight were a project of Project 2000 and were created by Tara Doris Vianos, who was one of its members. Project 2000 has been busy accomplishing its goals, and a portion of the funds which you have generously and graciously donated this evening will enable Project 2000 to accomplish more. This evening, as we celebrate the community spirit of Hoffmann LaRoche and honor it for its contributions in support of the town of Nutley, the volunteer citizen spirit of Project 2000 is also being recognized and supported. Project 2000 Committee Chairman Alan Rubino has asked me to publicly recognize core committee members Tara Doris Vianos, Jim Greengrove, and Leon Cohen for their exemplary contributions. So on behalf of Project 2000 Committee, I say first, thank you very much for your support. Second, I make a special appeal to your sense of community pride, spirit, and perhaps even obligation to become involved with Project 2000 or with one of the many other enormously worthwhile community service groups for Nutley. That is what this evening is all about. And last, on behalf of Project 2000, congratulations and best wishes to Mr. Lerner and Hoffmann LaRoche on the occasion of this special and historic tribute to honor Hoffmann LaRoche for its support of this great town that others call Nutley and we call home. Thank you.
A library is a library is a library, but it takes people to make the library work. And I think that Nutley is particularly fortunate to have as its director a young lady who is someone that we can be really proud of and someone who I think you'll be happy to meet, if you've not already met her. Cynthia Chamberlain, our new director of the library. Cynthia, come on down.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Lerner.
Thank you.
And welcome everyone to the library. As you might expect, I was reading recently, and it happened to be an article in the New York Times, which referred to the library as an anchor and an oasis in a community. The article was written by Nutley's own Paul Goldberger, and so, of course, the focus was the architecture of the library building and its ability to enrich the dialogue between people and books. And I thought, enriching the dialogue is exactly what we are doing this evening, and we are enriching this community. With that in mind, it is a pleasure to extend thanks to the entire community for recognizing the library with the special honor of hosting a Nutley tribute to Hoffmann LaRoche. And thank you to the committee for transforming this building into what I think is just a fairy tale feast. As you might guess, there is a reason that I'm speaking tonight. And yes, there is a presentation. There's a slogan by the American Library Association that says, "A library card is the best gift that you can give." And I believe that. It is also a privilege that we extend both to the community and to all of the businesses which are based in Nutley. And yes, Mr. Lerner, I am here to give you your own Nutley Public Library card. There you go. I encourage and I invite both you and each of your Roche employees to visit the library and to help us continue the dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you. And just remember, the late fee still applies. There are so many talented people in Nutley, I couldn't begin to mention all the names. One of them is David Birdie, and a good friend of his, Pete Pfeiffer, who have put together a video presentation. And if you could position yourselves to see a monitor, they've put together what we think is a very special tribute to Nutley and Hoffmann LaRoche. And it's about 10 minutes, so pull up a chair, make yourself comfortable, and then we'll have video and continue with the presentations.
A friend of Mark Twain once wrote, "There isn't much that is prettier than this end of New Jersey. Shallow valleys and bright sunny reaches along the Passaic River, and everywhere, trees." It was more than 100 years ago that Twain took his friend's advice and came to visit Nutley, then known as Franklin, for the first time. Taken by its beauty and tranquility, he returned often, spending many summer days in the enclosure section of Nutley, a budding artist community on the banks of the Third River. And by the turn of the century, Sundays in Nutley meant horse racing on Washington Avenue. Mark Twain would often take in the races with Annie Oakley, who lived just down the road on Grant Avenue. Many years later, Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy Onassis wrote to the Nutley Sun about another well-known Nutleyite, her father, John Bouvier III. "The Bouviers left Nutley when my father was a boy. However, I remember my grandfather and father constantly talking about it. I've never lived there, just driven through the town as a little girl, with my father pointing out things to me. A pond where he went ice skating is what I remember most." The Bouvier house on Nutley Avenue is as stately today as when Jacqueline's grandfather built it in 1908 with fieldstone from Nutley's own quarries. And this home at 86 Elm Place is where Nutleyite Martha Stewart acquired the style, elegance, and culinary skills that she shared with millions of people in Europe and America through her books and appearances on NBC's Today Show.
Nutley was a really, really nice town to grow up in. We moved there when I was 3 years old, and I remember fondly all the neighbors. Our street, Elm Place, was a very warm and comradely place. We just had the greatest time. Our front steps were filled with children every single night telling stories. The streets were noisy with kids all day long playing. And at the library, too, I remember meeting children from all the other schools. Some of my best friends, although I went to Yanticos School, my best friends were at Spring Garden School or Lincoln School. And for a town that was as widely spread out as Nutley, we had a lot of relationships with all the other schools. And I had a really great time growing up in that town. And I think that the friendliness of the neighbors, the friendliness of all the business people still exists. And we visit Nutley with fond memories.
Nutley is a thriving town, a progressive place of 30,000, with grand ambitions. Yet one does not have to look far to see the century-old values of family, community, faith, and education that have made Nutley a classic hometown in the Norman Rockwell tradition. One of Nutley's current residents is the pharmaceutical giant Hoffmann LaRoche. Throughout the years, Roche and Nutley have shared a common commitment to the people of the community Roche calls home. Roche's journey to Nutley began almost a century ago in Europe on the banks of the Rhine River. The year was 1896. A 28-year-old pharmacist, Fritz Hoffmann, began a chemical specialties company in Basel, Switzerland. He watched as pharmacists mixed his chemicals by hand, and he soon realized that in order to ensure the safety and effectiveness of a medicine, he would have to provide pharmaceuticals of uniform quality and composition. In 1905, Hoffmann expanded to New York, establishing the Hoffmann LaRoche Chemical Works, an importer of his Swiss-made compounds. By 1926, as the need for quality pharmaceuticals and healthcare grew, so did Hoffmann LaRoche. Hoffmann committed the American branch of his company to scientific research and development, as well as the manufacturing of top-grade compounds. To accommodate this growth, the company relocated to Nutley and built on a 100-acre complex the American headquarters of Hoffmann LaRoche Incorporated. And Nutley can be very proud to be home to the company that has led the field in many of the biomedical breakthroughs of the 20th century that have saved numerous lives and improved the quality of life for millions of people throughout the world. In 1930, Roche produced the first commercial vitamins, A and C. In the 40s, Roche made the first practical sulfa drug. In the 60s, it introduced the anti-anxiety drugs Librium and Valium. Valium is also used as a muscle relaxant and as an anticonvulsive medication. And Hoffmann LaRoche created the Roche Institute of Molecular Biology, the only corporate-supported science center in the world dedicated to basic biomedical research. In the 70s, it formed Roche Diagnostic Systems, developer of diagnostic equipment and tests for laboratories and doctors' offices. In the 80s, Roche pioneered the revolutionary process of recombinant DNA, making it possible for the first time to utilize exact copies of substances from the human body itself to make a whole new generation of medications. Roche's recombinant human interferon, Roferon A, is helping to fight cancer and AIDS. In 1982, Roche launched Accutane, giving new hope to those who suffer from a chronic and debilitating form of acne. In 1984, Roche created a unique strategic alliance with Glaxo, the manufacturer of Zantac, the #1 drug used in the treatment of ulcers and related diseases. Hoffmann-LaRoche's marketing and sales expertise has helped make Zantac the most widely prescribed drug in the world today. And Roche's Rocephin and Versed have become the #1 injectable antibiotic and anesthetic used in hospitals worldwide. The 90s brought a global reorganization of Hoffmann-LaRoche, designating Nutley the worldwide headquarters for research and development. Under President and CEO Erwin Lerner's leadership, Hoffmann-LaRoche reported a record-breaking $2.4 billion in sales in 1990. And there's even more for Nutley to be proud of. Hoffmann-LaRoche is also a leader in corporate social responsibility, developing and underwriting programs for patient information, math and science education, drug abuse prevention, environmental protection, and community and voluntary health organizations. And over the years, through financial contributions and volunteerism, Hoffmann-LaRoche has provided support for many of the local organizations that help Nutleyites of all ages. It's this long-standing commitment to the people of Nutley that has made Hoffmann-LaRoche a trusted neighbor and friend to the community.
I'm Frank Lautenberg, United States Senator from New Jersey. I'm sorry that I can't be with you tonight, but I'm honored to welcome you to an evening at the library, a Nutley tribute to Hoffmann-LaRoche. Hoffmann-LaRoche deserves thanks from all of us for its professional contributions to our health and well-being and its personal commitment to the community of Nutley. And Nutley is very dear to my heart. It's one of the several hometowns I've had in New Jersey. I have warm, fond memories of growing up here. And if you look out the front windows of the library, you can see my alma mater, Nutley High School. It's a great source of pride for me to see Nutley grow and prosper, and not only hold on, but to continue to foster the values that help make it great: family, community, hard work, faith, and education. I'm also proud of one of Nutley's outstanding residents and biggest supporters, Hoffmann-LaRoche. Over the years, I've worked closely with them, trying to foster policies at the federal level to continue to provide incentives for research and development of the medicines and diagnostic techniques that we need so badly. While I have a terrific and productive working relationship with Hoffmann-LaRoche, I also value what's developed into a warm, personal friendship with Hoffmann-LaRoche's president and CEO, Erwin Lerner. Tonight, as we honor Hoffmann-LaRoche, I want to congratulate Erwin Lerner and all of the employees at Hoffmann-LaRoche who contribute daily to the research, development, and manufacture of the revolutionary new compounds and technologies that are helping to fight such dreaded diseases as cancer and AIDS. And there's more. Mr. Lerner has demonstrated that Hoffmann-LaRoche does not only judge its success by the usual business benchmarks of profits and sales, but also by its commitment to community service. This year, Hoffmann-LaRoche was honored by the state of New Jersey and presented with the Governor's Award for Excellence in Pollution Prevention. This award demonstrates Roche's concern for its neighbors and our neighborhood. Almost every person in Nutley, whether they're aware of it or not, has benefited in some way from a Roche-sponsored program or organization. Just note the beautiful and elegant setting for tonight's affair. The restoration and expansion of Nutley's public library was made possible in large part through contributions of Hoffmann-LaRoche, and all of Nutley's children are invited to browse, wonder, and learn in the new children's room, which was dedicated to them by Roche. On behalf of the residents of Nutley, I salute Mr. Lerner and the great organization which he leads. May the partnership between Nutley and Hoffmann LaRoche continue to grow into the 21st century.
Thank you very much. Again, that was produced and edited by David Verdi and Pete Pfeiffer. And if I may call upon the good mayor, I know he's here someplace. Mr. Kelly. Yeah, there he is. He's playing Nintendo, all right. The Honorable Mayor John Kelly.
Okay. Now, what in God's name am I supposed to do now? Really? Kathleen and Robert stole two words I was going to use, a corporation and a citizen. So that's out. I can't even talk about that. Lautenberg is saluting Lerner. I wanted to do that. So I really don't know what I'm supposed to do at this point. I'll say this, though. I'm not going to use 2 minutes like you warned. You know I don't use too many minutes. Most corporations are really inanimate. They're unhuman. By that I mean they have no life. And as a youngster, I was taught that inanimate objects have no life because they have no soul. Well, Hoffmann LaRoche became animate when it engaged employees to pursue its endeavors. And the heart and soul of Hoffmann LaRoche, as far as I'm concerned, that gives it life is Erwin Lerner, its CEO. I'm convinced of that. I know that we are saluting Hoffmann LaRoche, but without men like Erwin Lerner to pursue its endeavors and guide the individuals who do it, we wouldn't have the wonderful company that we have today. I can say this, it's the greatest neighbor, the greatest corporate citizen that any town could want to have. I wish every municipality in the state of New Jersey had a Hoffmann LaRoche, but I'm glad we have the only one. And with that, I'd like to pull down that easel, address that easel.
Make a presentation.
Make a presentation. Come on down here, Erwin Lerner.
And also a toast.
The heart and soul of Hoffmann LaRoche. A toast presented to Hoffmann LaRoche in friendship and with gratitude by the people of Nutley, September 29th, 1991.
Wonderful.
Erwin.
Thank you, John. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Here, here.
Here, here.
And now I'd like to present the man himself, who has been Chief Executive Officer and President of Hoffmann LaRoche since 1980, and has certainly made his mark in this town, and I might add, throughout the state of New Jersey. I am also the president of the New Jersey chapter of the National Society of Fundraising Executives, and on October 25th, the state chapter is awarding Hoffmann LaRoche for outstanding corporate philanthropy. So this corporation gets around, sure does. And here is its spokesperson, Mr. Lerner.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you very much. Most sincerely. I haven't seen this many people in a room focused on Hoffmann LaRoche business since the last congressional hearing where we were brought up on charges. I have to confess this is a lot more fun. Thank you, Your Honor, Mayor Kelly, and thanks to all of the other people who said such warm and wonderful things about our company. It's the company that counts far more than me. But for me, it's a great personal honor to receive tonight's tribute on behalf of Hoffmann LaRoche and all of its people. It means a great deal to me and to all the people of the Roche organization to know that the commitment that we've made together to corporate citizenship over many, many years, about 65 to be exact, in this community of Nutley, is recognized and is appreciated by our Nutley neighbors. And to receive a tribute of this kind must rank as unique in the history of American industry-community relations. So all of us at Roche are very pleased indeed. And I'm very pleased also to see so many Roche people here, along with their spouses tonight. I thank them, and I thank all who are here for helping to make this such a successful and pleasant affair. Driving down here tonight, my wife Blanche and I stopped at a filling station nearby to fill up the car with gasoline. And as we were leaving, she said to me, "Irwin, you won't believe this, but the guy who filled the car with gas, I dated when I was in high school." And I turned to her and I said, "Boy, are you lucky. If you hadn't married me..." Wait a minute. You know she's not going to let me get away with that. So if you hadn't married me, you'd have been married to this gas jockey here. She said, "No, you're wrong, honey. If you hadn't married me, you'd be at the filling station, and he'd be the CEO of Hoffmann LaRoche." So that really put me in a wonderful mood for tonight's affair. There's nothing like being reminded of your humility. I have a wonderful reminiscence of my own youth in so many ways. Back in 1941 or 42, my dad had a 1932 Plymouth. And as was the custom in those days, for some of you folks who are old enough to remember, Sunday afternoon was family drive day. So Dad would take us out in the 1932 Plymouth, one time up to the South Mountain Reservation where the car invariably broke down going up that long hill. And sometimes he would take us out to Old State Highway number 3, as it was called then. And I recall very vividly driving down State Highway number 3 past this big gate and all the flowers in the summertime, even then, and asking, "Dad, what did he do in that place?" And I remember him very well saying, "I don't know, son. I think they make some kind of pills in there." So you can bet that I personally feel blessed to have lived what's known as the American dream. People are always very interested in what it is a CEO does. I'm always interested in that, too. I wonder where the hell my days and nights and weekends go. But I want to give you all some insight that probably will surprise some of you, but perhaps not others. These are the kinds of things you have to deal with when you reach the exalted level of Chief Executive Officer of a $2.5 billion organization. I got this letter recently from one of the people in our company who is out on temporary disability due to a minor accident, I thought a minor accident, he sustained while working on a project over here in Nutley. But just listen to this and see the kinds of things that I have to grapple with. "Dear Mr. President," he writes, "I am writing in response to your request for additional information," meaning somebody sent him a letter with my name at the bottom, asking him to fill out something. He says, "In block number 3 of the accident report form, I put poor planning as the cause of my accident. You said in your letter that I should explain more fully. I trust that the following details will be sufficient. I am a bricklayer by trade," he said. "On the day of the accident," and I want you to follow this very carefully, "on the day of the accident, I was working on the roof of a 6-story building in Nutley. When I completed my work, I discovered that I had about 500 pounds of brick left over. Now, rather than carry the bricks down by hand, I decided to lower them in a barrel by using a pulley, which fortunately was attached to the side of the building at the 6th floor. Securing a rope at the ground level, I went to the roof, swung the barrel out, and loaded the bricks into it. Then I went back to the ground and I untied the rope, holding it tightly so that the barrel would come down with the 500 pounds of brick very slowly down the side of the building." He adds the parenthetical thought, "You will note in block number 11 of the accident report form that I weigh 135 pounds. And he goes on, he says, "Due to my surprise at being jerked up off the ground so suddenly, I lost my presence of mind and I completely let go of the rope. Needless to say, I proceeded at a rather rapid rate up the side of the building. In the vicinity of the 3rd floor of the structure, I met the barrel of bricks coming down. This, he says, explains my fractured skull and my broken collarbone. Slowed only slightly, I continued my rapid ascent, not stopping until the fingers of my right hand were 2 knuckles deep right into the pulley. Fortunately, by this time, he said, I was able to regain my presence of mind and was able to hold tightly onto the rope in spite of my excruciating pain. At approximately the same time, however, the barrel of bricks hit the ground and the bottom fell out of the barrel. Now, completely devoid of the weight of the bricks, the barrel now weighed only 50 pounds. Parenthetically, please refer again to my weight in block number 11. As you might imagine, Mr. President, I then began a rapid descent down the side of the building. Once again, in the vicinity of the 3rd floor, I now met the barrel coming up. This unanticipated meeting accounts for my 2 fractured ankles and the lacerations on my legs and lower body. The encounter with the barrel slowed me enough to lessen my injuries when I fell onto the pile of brick, and fortunately only 3 of my vertebrae were cracked. I am sorry to report, Mr. President, however, that as I lay there on the bricks, writhing in pain, unable to stand or run or even move, and watching the empty barrel some 6 stories above me, I again lost my presence of mind. I let go of the rope. Needless to say, the 50-pound barrel made a rapid descent from the 6th floor, and we met head-on as I lay stretched out on the brick pile below. That explains my 2nd concussion, and I hope the above will fully explain the accident and that you will have the Human Resource Department completely reimburse all the costs. Thank you for your cooperation. That's just another morning in the life of. To know that Hoffmann LaRoche is a respected neighbor and a valued citizen of the Nutley community has given the Roche people who live and work here an enormous sense of comfort and personal satisfaction. And we all feel, deep down, that the special link that ties Nutley and Roche together is a relationship that could well serve as a model for many other corporations and many other communities, as Mayor Kelly has said. I also want to share with you a reminiscence of my own first real job, and that was in the Newark Public Library about 1944. Prior to that, I recall being what you might label as an indentured servant in my Uncle Julius's liquor store at the age of 10 in Newark, New Jersey. I learned in getting the public library job that aside from my winning personality, even at the age of about 14 at the time, what finally sold the librarian, one of these ladies whose glasses hung on a long rope and her hair was all white and blue and so forth, she wouldn't believe anything I said until I showed her my report card from junior high school. I went to Robert Treat Junior High School in Newark. And until I showed her that report card, scintillating with all A's and all kinds of commendations, naturally, then I got the job. But the thing I learned, in addition to meeting lovely people like Maria Bergamo, who was my library mate in those days, and still happy to say that, yes, indeed, she deserves a round of applause. And she's also a relative of the Rubino family, like everyone else here tonight. I learned firsthand in my library experience what the whole notion of information resources was really all about. I started there at the munificent sum of 37.5 cents an hour. And I ended up, after about 8.5 years there, needless to say, supervising some 16 people in the night shift. I recall very vividly a piece that was placed inside the front of every book in the public library, a quote by the then head of the library organization, John Cotton Dana, and the quote went, "Everything that is, was, or ever will be is recorded forever in the pages of books." And that's what makes the library so important. In fact, just reading the newspapers this past week, I'm sure all of you were struck as I was, even if you want to scan the Dead Sea Scrolls. pretty soon you're going to be able to come to the Nutley Public Library and view it all on microfiche or some kind of a easily accessible information presenter. So the library really does play a very fundamental role in all of our lives, whether we recognize it or not. And I hope this library, in all of its scintillating beauty, gets the kind of use that it deserves, not only from the children, but from the adults in the area. So, given my own library experience, you can understand my own personal interest in the Nutley Library Project, which complements our own company's fundamental commitment to the education of young people in particular. As a corporate citizen of Nutley, Roche shares Nutley's commitment to education, as well as the fundamental values of family, faith, and community. These values, which are so proudly displayed here this evening, have made the community of Nutley very strong over the nearly 90 years of its existence. According to some research we did, the Nutley Library Reference Service says that the community of Nutley per se was founded on January 17, 1902, so a very significant birthday is rapidly approaching here. In addition to sharing these fundamental values, we at Roche share a common vision with our fellow Nutley residents. It's a vision in which our company and this community continue to work as partners to maintain Nutley's role as a model town that's both economically and culturally strong, a town that supports and nurtures the physical, intellectual, and spiritual health of its citizens. Nutley certainly has a warm and wonderful history, and on several occasions, pieces of it have been related to me by the beloved former mayor of this community, Mr. Harry Chenoweth, who we're fortunate to have with us tonight. And as I watched this videotape, another idea occurred to me. If Harry is willing, Roche is willing. I would love to sponsor a project which maybe can be appended to that videotape, where Harry would tell the video camera some of the stories of the Nutley he grew up in that he's told to us. If you're willing to do that, Harry, we'll be happy to take care of all the details, including the funding of that dimension of that wonderful history of Nutley, because no one tells it like you do. Moving just quickly from history to the future brings the spotlight to focus on Project 2000, which you've already heard a little bit about. Nutley's Project 2000 is indeed a creative, grassroots approach to making that common vision a reality. By building upon the very rich history of this town and strengthening it through the continued personal support of each of us and the many others who live and work in these Nutley neighborhoods, we not only are going to grow stronger as a community, but we're going to grow closer as friends. And that's very important, because more than 5,000 Roche people call Nutley their home. Whether they live here in town or in the neighboring communities, they spend, as I do, most of our waking hours working, eating, shopping, and indeed living right here in town. So it makes me very proud to see that our employees do have such strong ties to the Nutley community. But what always impresses me most about Roche people is that so many of them go the extra step and volunteer their time, their knowledge, and their professional expertise to this and other communities. Yes, it's true, Roche, the corporation, does its part, but the personal, individual commitment demonstrated through the volunteer efforts of Roche people can never, ever be matched by anything the corporation itself might do. Ralph Waldo Emerson put it best, I think: the only gift is a portion of thyself. Roche executives such as Rosemary Brunner, Tony Iannarone, and Al Rubino, as well as the many Roche volunteers and friends who've joined us here this evening, are just a very small representation of the men and the women who make such a difference at Roche. These people have been an essential part of the history of both Roche and Nutley. And just as Roche has played a role in contributing to Nutley's history, Nutley too has become a significant part of the Roche tradition. By now, most of you are very familiar with the story of Nelson Peterson's serendipitous discovery of the site where our American headquarters now sits. He too drove on Old State Highway number 3 way back in the mid-20s. But what the story doesn't convey is that this town has become much more than a home to Roche the corporation. It has become home to Roche the people. So on behalf of these people, on behalf of all the dedicated men and women who are Hoffmann LaRoche, I really want to express our heartfelt thanks for this most unique honor and this tribute. And I look forward to many, many more years of being good neighbors, caring neighbors, and continuing to earn the confidence and the trust of all of you in the Nutley community. We do not take that trust lightly. And in return, I pledge to each of you that Roche will continue to work toward that goal even as we continue our work toward a healthier tomorrow. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so very much. In closing, as you know, I know you know, living in Nutley goes synonymous with volunteering. The committee, what wonderful people they are. I'm not going to mention all their names, but just a few, because they were so wonderful in making this evening happen. Dolores and Cynthia and Tara and Rose and Jim and Tony and Ruth and Nancy and Cy and Jim and Dorothy and Alan and Phil White. I particularly like to thank Phil for his saying things in the paper, things that I said and I think I said. It was always interesting to pick up the Nutley Sun to learn about what I was thinking. Appreciate that, Phil, we really do. And also, thanks to Paul Gates for this evening's display of incredible menu. If you haven't gotten to all the rooms, there's a couple of rooms that I missed. There's one over there that has Chinese food, and another one up there with pasta. And we have dessert, so don't leave. We're supposed to finish up by 9:30. We got an extension. It's okay. You can stay till 12. All right? And tomorrow is a day off. You don't have to. Is that right, Mr. Lerner? Kathy, want to say something?
I just wanted to...
Day off, holiday.
In case you've been wondering, the beautiful plaque that you saw presented earlier will be placed from the people of Nutley to Hoffmann LaRoche and will be placed at the gate at Hoffmann LaRoche. And so as you're walking by, you'll all be able to see it. And I hope the people who work at Hoffmann LaRoche will know how much we appreciate everything they have done for all of us. And I'd like to, and my personal apologies to Mayor Chenworth, because I don't have my glasses on tonight, and I'm missing so many things, and I didn't welcome him. I know it, right in front of me. Thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Enjoy. We'll see you later.
Thank you.